The grand ballroom glittered with golden chandeliers. Polished marble floors reflected the swirls of gowns and tuxedos. Music floated in the air, soft violins weaving the rhythm of a classic waltz. Guests whispered in excitement, their voices carrying like waves across the shimmering hall. At the center of it all stood Lady Eleanor, proud and radiant in her emerald gown. Her eyes sparkled as she raised a glass and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Tonight," she declared, "whoever can dance the waltz with grace and heart shall win the hand of my son." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some laughed nervously, others leaned in with wide eyes. The challenge was bold. Eleanor's son, Daniel, stood tall beside her, adjusting his black bow tie. His jaw tightened as if he hadn't expected his mother's announcement. "Mother," he whispered sharply, "what are you doing?" But she ignored him, her gaze sweeping the guests like a queen choosing her champion. In the far corner, unnoticed by most, a young maid clutched the silver tray she carried. Her hands trembled. Her name was Clara. She had polished every glass, served every guest, and scrubbed every floor in this mansion. But now her heart raced at Lady Eleanor's words. A waltz? For a hand in marriage? It sounded like a fairy tale, something unreachable. She looked at Daniel, the man everyone admired, the heir every girl in the room dreamed of. And then she looked at her own reflection in the polished tray. A simple uniform, worn shoes, calloused fingers. "No," she muttered under her breath, forcing a smile to hide her thoughts. "That world is not mine." The music swelled. Young ladies rushed to the dance floor, each desperate to catch Daniel's attention. Their gowns twirled like blossoms opening in spring. Daniel bowed politely to the first partner, his movements stiff. He danced, yes, but his eyes held no spark. The guests applauded out of courtesy, but whispers rose. "He doesn't care. None of them are right. Did you see the stumble?" Silent moments filled the gaps between claps, as if the entire hall waited for something, or someone, to ignite the night. Clara stepped back toward the service table. But then, an elderly man brushed past her, muttering, "If only someone danced with heart instead of pride." Those words struck her chest like a bell. She froze. Her fingers gripped the tray tighter, because Clara had a secret. When the mansion was empty, when no one watched, she danced. She had learned from the echoes of music in these very halls, tracing the patterns alone under moonlight. She knew the waltz by heart, not from lessons but from longing. Her breath caught, her pulse quickened. What if? Daniel returned to his mother's side, sighing with quiet frustration. Lady Eleanor frowned. "No soul," she whispered, disappointed. "Not one of them." And then her sharp eyes caught Clara in the corner. She tilted her head, lips curving into a sly smile. "You?" Lady Eleanor said suddenly, her voice cutting through the ballroom like thunder. The crowd turned. Trays clinked. Gasps echoed. Clara froze, her heart slamming against her ribs. "Yes, you," Eleanor continued, pointing a jeweled finger. "The maid. Come. Dance the waltz with my son." The ballroom fell into complete silence. You could hear a pin drop. Clara's knees trembled. Her lips parted, but no words came. Every eye burned into her skin. Would she dare step forward? The ballroom held its breath. Dozens of eyes pierced through the silence, locked on Clara. The silver tray in her trembling hands felt heavier than iron. "Dance? With him?" she whispered to herself. Her throat tightened. Daniel's jaw clenched, his voice low but firm. "Mother, this is absurd. She's just a maid." Lady Eleanor's emerald eyes glittered with challenge. "And yet, Daniel, perhaps she has more courage than all these finely dressed ladies combined." A ripple of shocked murmurs coursed through the crowd. One woman gasped dramatically, clutching her pearl necklace. Another laughed, a cruel, high-pitched sound. "Imagine that. Our heir dancing with a servant." Clara wanted to vanish, to melt into the polished marble floor. But then, she remembered the old man's words. If only someone danced with heart instead of pride. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her fingers tightened on the tray until her knuckles turned white. And then, slowly, deliberately, she set it down on the table. The clang of silver against glass echoed louder than the violins. Clara straightened her back. One shaky breath, then another, and with trembling steps, she walked toward the dance floor. Every whisper sharpened, every eye followed. Is she mad? She'll humiliate herself. She doesn't belong here. Daniel frowned, clearly uncomfortable. His voice, meant only for his mother, carried just enough for Clara to hear. Why humiliate her like this? She'll stumble. They'll laugh. Eleanor's reply was sharp as a blade. Or perhaps she'll surprise us all. Daniel turned his gaze toward Clara. Their eyes met. For the first time that evening, his expression softened. Not with admiration, but curiosity. Clara stopped before him, her knees trembling so violently she thought she might collapse. She dipped a clumsy curtsy, the kind she had only seen from a distance. I will try, sir, she whispered. Daniel sighed. Very well. But know this. Once the music begins, there's no turning back. Her lips quivered, but she nodded. I know. The conductor raised his baton. The violins hummed softly, strings vibrating like nerves under skin. The piano's first notes rippled through the room. Daniel extended his hand. His movements were precise, practiced, cold. Clara hesitated only a second before slipping her hand into his. His palm was warm, steady, yet the moment their fingers touched, a shiver ran down her spine. Follow my lead, he murmured. But as the music swelled, Clara's instincts awakened. The rhythm was not foreign to her. It was home. She had traced these very steps in shadows, beneath the chandeliers when no one was watching. The waltz was her secret friend, her escape from loneliness. And now, that secret was alive under the eyes of hundreds. At first, her steps faltered. A stumble, a near miss. Laughter erupted from a corner. She can't do it. Knew it. Clara's cheeks burned. Tears pricked her eyes. She wanted to run. But then, she caught sight of the marble floor reflecting her own trembling form. And she remembered those countless nights. Alone, twirling in silence. Dreaming. Her breath slowed. Her chin lifted. She tightened her grip on Daniel's hand. No, she whispered almost to herself. Not tonight. Something changed. Her movements flowed smoother. Her feet glided across the floor, catching the rhythm effortlessly. The stumble was gone. Turn graceful. A step perfectly in time. Daniel's brow furrowed. His lead faltered for the briefest moment as he realized. She wasn't following him. She was dancing with him. The murmurs in the crowd grew hushed, confused. Whispers turned to silence. Clara twirled. The skirt of her plain maid's uniform flared, simple but suddenly radiant. Her eyes, once lowered in shame, now shone with quiet fire. Daniel's gaze lingered on her longer than he intended. Who are you? He breathed under his breath. The music climbed. Her movements grew bolder, sharper, yet more graceful. She floated, as if she belonged there more than anyone else. Guests leaned forward, unable to believe what they were seeing. The cruel laughter had died. Shock replaced mockery. Lady Eleanor's lips curved into the faintest smile. And as the violins reached their peak, Daniel twirled Clara into a spin. She spun once, twice, then stopped right in the center of the ballroom. A spotlight fell across her face. The entire hall gasped. The hall was silent, utterly silent. The only sound was Clara's soft breath, chest rising and falling as she stood frozen under the golden chandelier's glow. Her maid's dress was plain, yet in that moment it shimmered as if spun from silk. The audience who had mocked her seconds ago now stared wide-eyed, jaws slack. She can dance? One noblewoman whispered, disbelief thick in her voice. Not just dance, another muttered. She belongs here. Daniel's hand still hovered midair from the last spin. His heart thumped faster than it had all night. For the first time, he wasn't carrying the dance. She was. He leaned closer, voice low but sharp. Where did you learn that? Clara's lips curved into the smallest smile. I listened. I watched. I practiced when no one saw. Her voice was calm, steady now. Not trembling. Not afraid. The violins swelled again, urging the dancers to continue. Daniel exhaled, still processing. But then something shifted in him too. His rigid shoulders relaxed. His movements softened. He let her guide him into the next steps, almost against his own will. And suddenly, they weren't just dancing. They were speaking without words. Step, turn, glide. Every motion was a question. Every answer was in the way their hands pressed, in the way their eyes locked. Daniel found himself asking silently, "Who are you really?" And Clara's gaze seemed to whisper back, "Someone you never noticed." The crowd leaned forward, hypnotized. Whispers filled the silence. "Impossible. She's a maid. No maid dances like that." Some eyes glittered with admiration, others with envy. But then, from the back of the hall, a voice rang out. Harsh, cruel. "Enough of this charade." The words cut through the music like a blade. All heads turned. It was Lord Whitmore, one of the wealthiest men in the city and a close ally of Lady Eleanor. His face was twisted with disdain. "You disgrace this hall," he thundered, pointing directly at Clara. "A servant on the dance floor? It is an insult to our name." Gasps rippled. Clara's chest tightened. For the briefest moment, her confidence faltered. She could feel the shame creeping back like a shadow, whispering, "You don't belong here." Daniel's grip on her hand tightened. She looked at him in surprise. His voice was firm, steady. "She is dancing better than anyone here tonight, and I will not see her humiliated." The crowd gasped again. Lady Eleanor's lips twitched upward, as though pleased by her son's rare defiance. Lord Whitmore's face reddened. "You defend her? A maid?" Daniel's voice rose, filled with unexpected fire. "I defend talent. I defend courage. Perhaps that is worth more than titles or gowns." A stunned silence followed. Clara's throat swelled with emotion, her eyes burning with unshed tears. For the first time, someone had spoken for her. The violins swelled again, almost as if commanding them to finish the dance. Clara inhaled deeply, pushing back her fear. She straightened her spine, raised her chin, and let herself glide into the rhythm once more. This time, Daniel matched her perfectly. Together, they spun across the ballroom floor like fire and wind, unstoppable, untamed. Every spin silenced another doubt. Every step shattered another sneer. The guests, one by one, stopped whispering. Then slowly applause began, tentative at first, then stronger, louder, until the entire hall thundered with claps. Clara's cheeks flushed, her chest rising with pride she had never known before. Daniel looked at her, not with pity, not with curiosity, but with awe. "Clara," he whispered, his voice almost breaking, "you've silenced them all." But then, just as the final note of the waltz hung in the air, just as the applause shook the hall, the grand doors creaked open. A servant stumbled inside, pale-faced, clutching a sealed letter. He rushed to Lady Eleanor and bowed deeply. "My lady," he stammered, voice trembling. "It is urgent news from the Duke." Lady Eleanor broke the seal. Her eyes scanned the page, and then her hand froze, her face turned ashen. Her lips parted, but no words came. The applause faded into uneasy silence. Every guest turned, waiting. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and shaking. "The Duke," she whispered, barely audible, "has arrived." The doors behind the servant swung open wider, and in stepped a tall figure, cloaked in shadows. The ballroom held its breath once more. Who is this mysterious Duke? And why does his arrival threaten to change everything Clara has just fought for? The doors groaned open, and the Duke stepped into the golden light of the ballroom. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his presence commanding silence without a word. His cloak, deep midnight blue, trailed behind him. A silver crest gleamed at his chest, the mark of his powerful house. His eyes were sharp, cold, scanning the room with the precision of a hawk. The crowd bowed instinctively. Even Lady Eleanor lowered her head slightly, though her eyes flickered with unease. Clara's heart pounded in her chest. She had never seen the Duke before, only heard whispers. Ruthless, proud, impossible to please. Daniel straightened his posture, jaw tight. "Why is he here?" he muttered to himself. The Duke's voice boomed, echoing across the marble hall. "I hear there has been a spectacle." He turned slowly, his gaze finally falling on Clara. His lips curled in disdain. "A maid!" His tone dripped with contempt. "Dancing in my presence?" The whispers spread like wildfire. Guests shifted nervously. Some smirked, as if waiting for Clara's downfall. Others looked away, unwilling to be caught staring. Lady Eleanor stepped forward, her emerald gown shimmering under the chandelier. "Duke," she surprised us all. "Her grace is undeniable. Surely even you must admit." The Duke raised a hand, silencing her. His eyes never left Clara. "If she wishes to prove herself," he said slowly, "then let her face me." A collective gasp filled the hall. Daniel's voice cracked with anger. "You would challenge her? She is no opponent for you." The Duke's expression didn't waver. "Then she will fail, and all this foolishness will end." He extended a gloved hand toward Clara. "Dance with me. If you can match my steps, perhaps you are worthy of standing in this hall. If not, leave. Tonight." The music faltered into silence. All eyes turned to Clara. Her knees threatened to buckle. Her hands trembled at her sides. Dance with the Duke? The man who had trained with masters, who had performed before kings. A whisper slithered through her mind. "This is where you break. This is where you are reminded of your place." She almost stepped back, almost gave in. But then, Daniel's voice reached her, quiet yet steady. "Clara, you've already silenced them once. Don't let him take that from you." Her eyes lifted to meet his. His gaze was fierce, unwavering. In that moment, strength filled her chest. She nodded. The conductor hesitated, looking uncertain. But at a sharp gesture from the Duke, the violins began again. This time faster, sharper, more punishing. The Duke seized Clara's hand. His grip was firm, almost crushing. The dance began. His movements were flawless, mechanical, precise as a blade slicing through the air. Every step was meant to test her, to trip her, to prove her unworthy. Clara stumbled at first, nearly losing her rhythm. The crowd murmured. The Duke's lips curled into a smirk. But then she closed her eyes. She breathed. She remembered the nights she had practiced alone, spinning under the stars. Not for approval, not for an audience, for herself. Her body began to flow again, her steps finding their place, not by mimicking the Duke, but by meeting him, matching his force with her grace, his precision with her soul. The dance grew fierce. His footwork thundered, hers glided. He spun her fast, almost flinging her. But she landed light, her skirt fanning like a flame. He pressed harder, trying to overwhelm her. She moved faster, her heartbeat in time with the violins. The audience gasped as Clara twirled free, only to snap back into perfect rhythm, her hand slapping back into his at the exact moment the drums hit. Even Daniel, watching from the edge, felt his throat tighten. She's winning. The Duke's expression darkened. For the first time, doubt flickered in his sharp eyes. His jaw clenched. He pushed harder, forcing the tempo, twisting the dance into something brutal. But Clara's fire only burned brighter. Each step was not just defiance, it was freedom. Every spin declared, "I belong here. I am more than what you see." The crowd leaned in, caught between awe and disbelief. The violins screamed to a climax. The Duke whipped her into a final spin, certain she would falter. But Clara didn't stumble. She landed perfectly, back straight, chin high, eyes blazing, right in the center of the floor. The music cut, silence, and then the ballroom erupted. Applause louder than before. Cheers, cries, the sound of feet stomping against marble. Clara stood, chest heaving, sweat glistening on her brow. but her eyes unbroken. The Duke stared at her, stunned. For the first time, his mask cracked. "You," he whispered. "You should not have been able to do that." His voice trembled with something he hadn't expected, respect. Or was it fear? Before he could speak again, Lady Eleanor stepped forward, her voice carrying like a queen's decree. "This maid," she declared, "has proven herself more than any noble here tonight." The hall roared again. But Clara knew this was far from over. The Duke's eyes burned into her with something dangerous, something that promised the final test had not yet come. The Duke has been silenced, but what deeper secret is still hiding in this ballroom? One that could change Clara and Daniel's lives forever? The ballroom was thunderous with applause, but beneath the noise, a storm brewed. The Duke's cold eyes never left Clara. His lips pressed into a thin line, his pride wounded, his authority questioned. Lady Eleanor's voice cut through the roar. "Clara has proven herself," she declared. "Grace, courage, and soul, qualities rare among the noble. Tell me, Duke, can you deny what you just witnessed?" The Duke's jaw tightened. His hand twitched, as though he wanted to rip the moment away. But finally he spoke, his words clipped. "She dances well, too well." The crowd stirred, uneasy. His tone held something darker than admiration. Daniel stepped forward, standing between the Duke and Clara. His shoulders squared, voice strong. "Enough. She deserves respect. She has more spirit than anyone I've met." The Duke smirked, tilting his head. "Respect? Perhaps. But do you know who she truly is?" The hall quieted at once. Even the music faltered into silence. Clara's heart jolted. Her stomach knotted. The Duke's gaze turned on her like a blade. "You hide behind rags and dust, but you are no ordinary maid." Gasps rippled. Lady Eleanor's brow furrowed in confusion. Daniel's eyes widened. Clara's lips parted, her throat dry. "What do you mean?" The Duke's smirk deepened. "You think I do not recognize you? You bear the eyes of your mother, the Duchess of Ravenhurst." A stunned hush fell over the hall. Whispers erupted instantly. A duchess's daughter? Impossible. She was said to have vanished. Clara staggered back, her chest heaving. Memories she had buried clawed their way out. The nights of hunger, the fire that had destroyed her family estate, the whispers of betrayal, of debts unpaid. She had been sent away, stripped of title, abandoned to servitude. Tears welled in her eyes. Her voice trembled. "My mother. She never told me." The Duke's voice grew harsher. "You were hidden, forgotten, and now you dare return as a servant, humiliating your betters." Daniel turned, staring at her, breathless. "Clara, is it true?" She met his eyes. Her lips quivered, but she nodded. "Yes, I was born into nobility. But when we lost everything, I was cast aside. No one wanted the fallen daughter of a disgraced house. So I worked. I cleaned floors. I survived." The hall buzzed with shock. Some faces showed pity, others scorn. But Daniel only looked at her with awe. "You survived," he whispered. "You never gave up. That makes you stronger than any of them." The Duke sneered, stepping closer. "Strong? Or dangerous? A fallen duchess's daughter can never be trusted. She will bring ruin to your family, Eleanor." Lady Eleanor's eyes narrowed, her mind racing. But then, she lifted her chin, voice sharp and clear. "Enough, Duke. I will decide who is worthy. Not you." Her gaze swept across the hall before landing on Clara. For the first time, her eyes softened. "You danced with soul. You carried yourself with dignity, even under scorn. That is what I want for my son." Daniel's breath caught. "Mother!" Lady Eleanor raised her hand, silencing him. "If Clara will have you, Daniel, then she has my blessing." The ballroom erupted once more. Gasps, cheers, protests all tangled in the air. Clara's tears spilled freely now, her chest aching with emotions too heavy to hold. She turned to Daniel, voice trembling. "After all this, would you truly want me? A maid, a fallen duchess?" Daniel stepped closer, his eyes fierce, unwavering. I don't care where you came from. I care about who you are. And tonight, you showed the world your heart. Clara, I want you, no matter what name you carry. Her lips trembled into a fragile smile. Then, I'll stay. The Duke's face twisted with fury. He turned on his heel and stormed out, his cloak snapping behind him like thunderclouds leaving the hall. The music returned, gentle this time. Guests clapped and cried, swept away by the drama they had witnessed. And in the center of it all, Daniel and Clara stood together. Not noble and maid, not heir and servant, but equals bound by the courage to defy expectation. The violins swelled once more, and as Daniel took her hand, Clara whispered, almost to herself, maybe this is where I was meant to be all along. And so I ask you, do you believe true worth comes from birth and titles, or from the courage to rise when the world has already written you off?